Leave it to the FIA to get involved when Max begins to make that comeback. Each and every single time, it just seems to keep freaking happening. I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is the Dylan Hildreth Show. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. So obviously the part that I'm talking about, turn 1, lap 1 of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Max and Oscar were side by side. Oscar had it. They were pretty much neck and neck. Oscar decided to take the apex on the second half of that S, really pushing Max off the track, forcing Max off, and to have to take what is essentially a shortcut. And the FIA came back and said 5 seconds to Max, and the difference ended up being just under 3 seconds. And that was the defining moment of this particular Grand Prix event, which is it's very, very frustrating. I mean, to have a race that had so much promise be left into the hands of the FIA, they will mess it up each and every single time, and they have done it again. They've done it again. And maybe it was... So, we'll play a little devil's advocate here. So, let's say Max just gives the position back. Are we sure that Max would have been able to keep up at that point? The dirty air is everything. Would have maybe... The only place that you could have made a case to do it would have been in the DRS going down to going into turn 22. Let Oscar by, get the DRS as you drive off into 1, and essentially get him back. That would have probably been the best thing to do instead of leaving it up to the FIA, because as we have learned throughout the years, the tie goes to not Max Verstappen. I mean, Lando in Austin last year against Lewis throughout 2021, the tie goes to not Max. We've seen that trend, and it's fairly clear, very obvious. Max, still, after 49 laps, very unhappy. Not much celebration to be had on the podium. And rightfully so, in my opinion. I find it absolutely insane that each and every single commentator in F1, from the Sky booth to the F1 TV guys, they all fall into uniform. Oh, yes, FIA made the right move. Yes, they did. Like a bunch of seals. Like a bunch of absolute seals. It's as ridiculous as NASCAR. But of course, if it would have gone the other way, at least they're going to be consistent. If it would have gone the other way, they would have gone against Max, because that is what the Formula One commentary teams, whether it's F1 TV or Sky, they have to go against Max each and every single time. Every single time. I mean, and the saddest part is that is yet another win that is kind of marred with controversy by Oscar Piastri. Not really so much of his doing. You had his first win. He was at Hungary last year. That was a joke because Lando gave it to him. And now you have this one that is mired in controversy because of the FIA completely and totally messing it up. And yeah, it sucks for Oscar. he did play a part in this, but it's not necessarily his fault. Now, I do believe in the second stint, there was a pretty solid chance that Oscar, if he would have gone for the undercut and would have got it, but Max would have been within spitting distance, been able to keep up and have that exciting race to the finish. But of course, the FIA can't chance that. They just simply cannot. So, we'll move on to we'll move on from that. Charles Leclerc, he rounds out the podium. Good for Charles. They had a good strategy. They went very long on the mediums. They went 30 laps, 35 laps on the mediums. And then moved over to the hards, where he was able to get around Russell and fight off Lando, which we'll get into him in a minute, and get that first podium of the year for the Ferrari. Now, I would have never noticed if I wasn't just sitting there brooding about the whole situation with Max and Oscar. But while the celebration was going, I saw some Ferrari crew members cheering and dancing along to the music. Where the hell do you think you are? Where the hell do you think you are? You are at the New York Yankees. You are at the New England Patriots of Formula One. The expectation at Ferrari is wins. It is winning championships, winning constructors' titles, winning races. Ferrari has not done that yet this year, and haven't done it since, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to roll back the old book here to figure that one out. I believe their last victory was in Their last victory came in Mexico from the driver they kicked out for Lewis Hamilton in October. And their last constructors title came 2005, I think. I mean, what are you doing celebrating that? Honestly, I mean, I may just be bitter as hell after this race, but I mean, your last championship in the constructors came in 2008. The last person to win a driver's championship was Kimi Räikkönen. I mean, my goodness. I can tell you this. I'm a Patriots fan. Celebrating losing the AFC championship game, unacceptable. So, celebrating the fact that we got to the AFC championship game, absolutely not. It is championship or bust. Same thing for the Yankees. You win the whole thing, or it's a bust. That is the approach Ferrari needs to take, and judging by what I saw there, they're just happy to be there. They're just happy to be there. You have the best driver lineup as far as skill and talent of anybody in the field, maybe outside of McLaren. But it's definitely bang between Ferrari and McLaren. And yet, we're celebrating third place because good team. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, Leclerc, he wasn't really like overly celebrating, which drivers can do that. I mean, if they're gonna pull a tractor to third place, then yeah, go ahead, celebrate. Max, every right to celebrate. Pulled a tractor to second. Should have won this freaking thing. Now, moving on to Lando Norris. He finished fourth after starting 10th after putting it into the wall in qualifying yesterday. Because, well, I think the moment is getting too big for Lando. I do not see him as a world champion. I think that window has closed. It is not Lando. It is not the Lando era. It is the Oscar era, the Piastri era, and Lando's just along for the ride. He is just a good driver who had potential at being a world champion, but was unable to recognize it quick enough before McLaren found their next champion. And that next champion is going to be Oscar Piastri. Lando is just there. And he showed that once again in qualifying, chips on the table, and he bends it. Sucks that it's got to be that way. But it's got to be that way. Lando, definitely a fan favorite. He's a great driver. Don't get me wrong. But his window for a championship, I think, has officially closed. At least at McLaren. This is Oscar's team. He grabbed the World Drivers' Championship by the horns and took it. And now that belongs to Oscar. This team belongs to Oscar. Lando, you're now the other McLaren. Well, this is just a hot one. Good Lord. I didn't think I was going to get this hot. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli. Just didn't quite have it today. Fifth and sixth. About as good as you can do. Didn't quite have the speed necessary. Didn't go outside the box like Ferrari did. Try to get those extra spots. The tires wear way too quickly for George and Kimi to really do anything. They finished they finished about 19 seconds behind Lando. Nearly 30 seconds. George nearly 30 seconds behind Oscar. Kimi nearly 35. I mean, it's still a long road for Mercedes, but they got the drivers. Toto Wolff, I trust completely, holistically, get this car back on track. More than likely, they're just going to pack it in for 2026 here in the very near future. See how Miami goes here in a few weeks. But this just might just end up being a year to just tank on and go get what you can into 2026 and let that be your year. And then the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton, he's still trying to figure that out. His tires absolutely shot very early in both stints. And it was just rough sliding. Rough sliding for Lewis. Really thought we'd start seeing the uptick at this point, and not so much that he's competing for wins yet, but I really did expect a little bit more at this point. But give him a few weeks, let him decompress, readjust, recenter, because I believe the next race isn't for 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks in Miami. So I would say give him a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. And then the Williams getting double points once again. They're they're a team to look out for. Williams just might steal a little something this year. I wouldn't put it past Carlos or Alex to take advantage of just a wild situation and go out there and take home a ground, the whole freaking thing of a Grand Prix. Wouldn't shock me one bit. Obviously, Carlos is more inclined to do so. Carlos, he looked comfortable all weekend long. I think it was the first weekend that he really looked at home in the Williams. So I would certainly expect him to continue to get better and better. And it's going to get very awkward in the Ferrari camp if Carlos Sainz begins to consistently beat Lewis Hamilton. Because we might be looking down that barrel here very, very soon. And then Isaac Hadjar getting points once again. This kid's steady. This kid is steady. He is definitely a potential rock star in the make. But what he's been able to do in these RBs is nothing short of incredible. He gets on the board. Second time of the year, he gets points. Good for him. Very happy for him. And then good old. We're just gonna go down to the wreck that we saw later in first lap between Yuki and Gasly. It looked like a racing incident. Lap one, just a lap one deal. Quite simply, it's unfortunate. Really sucks. If Yuki could have gotten a little bit better start, maybe wiggled his way up into contention to maybe force some drivers to either pit early and using Yuki as a little bit of a bait and short pit, maybe a little too much to help Max, but it's the unfortunate reality. Now the start itself was a little weird because there was maybe a second half before they were all red before they went out. That is something I had never seen before. I found that to be very, very odd. I don't know. It felt weird. It definitely caught Max by surprise. Max definitely didn't see that coming. That's why you got the poor start. And I would if I'm Red Bull, I'm screaming about that as well. I'm screaming foul on that because it never ever goes that quickly, ever. Usually there is at least a 3 to 5 seconds, but here it was maybe 2. Like it was unlike anything I've ever seen with that start. So that was definitely an odd one. So that is my early, directly after the race reaction. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything, and we'll be back later this week with a more leveled out, not as angry show on the world of Formula 1.